Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's now 4 o'clock and it's time to begin our education committee meeting. And we'd like to have the roll call.
Mrs. London,
Present.
Mr. Franklin,
Present.
Mr. Spain,
Present.
Mr. Carter,
Present.
Mrs. Tanner,
Present.
Mr. Bullock, Ms. Smiley. Here. Dr. Thornton.
Present.
Okay, I think everybody's here, so we're going to, maybe you want to take a look at the minutes for a moment. Those who did not get one in the mail. Everybody did? Do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second. And the moved and properly second that we receive the minutes as printed. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion is carried. First on our agenda, D, we have presentation of agreed upon priority statements from the board of supervisors. I think at the last meeting, you gave us a list of things you prioritized for us to go over. We did have a call meeting ourselves, just our immediate board members on the education committee. And we came up with these 8 agreed upon items. And I'm not gonna read them to you because I know you can read. We'll give you a few minutes to browse them. If you have any questions or concerns about them. Or maybe we do because we have some people don't have a sheet, right? Okay, they're sitting on the side. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead, okay? The committee, discussed the proposal in depth that you gave us. And unanimously, we agreed to the following items. And number 1, the committee agreed to the original plan to build a high school complex only at this time, with the condition of 30% down before the project begins. Number 2, the high schools and middle schools roofs need to be looked at, as these are 20-year-old and are leaking according to the reports that the board members have received. Number 3, the chiller at Southfield Elementary and the boilers at Bluestone High School and Parkview Middle School need to be replaced. And the committee wants a maintenance plan for the HVAC system at all schools. Number 4, the bleachers at Parkview Middle School and Bluestone Middle School should be replaced. Number 5, the bar unit at Chase City Elementary, Clarksville Elementary, LaCrosse Elementary should be installed. Due to the higher energy of these units, the committee is requesting the proposed savings from the installation of these units. And number 6, the windows at Chase City Elementary, Clarksville Elementary, and LaCrosse Elementary should be replaced, and the cost savings from lower electric bills based on previous replacements need to be reported to the committee. And number 7, the committee agreed to the kitchen drain replacement, Chase City Elementary, LaCrosse Elementary, and the master clocks at all 3 elementary schools. As to the kitchen upgrades, the committee wants more information as to why all 3 are needed at this time and what is proposed to be replaced. And lastly, number 8, the committee agreed to the security cameras in the hallways due to safety concerns. More information is requested regarding the fire alarm. The ceiling tiles and painting of hallways are regular maintenance items and should be taken care of in the school board budget. There are questions from the agreed upon list by the board of supervisors committee.
Had y'all gotten this before today?
No, they have not. We want to study it then and bring it back next time to next meeting. Some of these things should have been done
And some of those things, I
Yeah.
think, are in the presentation that I'll be making in a few minutes will be addressed too.
Okay, can I ask just one question? Have the boilers been installed in those schools, number 3, the children?
The Southfield one,
Yeah, children at Southfield Elementary and boilers at Bluestone and Parkview Middle.
the Southfield one is not installed, yes, they have to do some kind of water clean out of, I forgot what it's called. But they have to do that before they can put this in, so we're in the process of, it's all been contracted in.
What about the two other
And,
schools?
and the 2 other schools, you also requested in here that we do a maintenance thing, which we have in this report from Honeywell. And their recommendation was to re-tube them
Okay.
instead of replacing them, or actually, they gave you 2 recommendations of the Honeywell report. Re-tube them for a cost of $30,000, which is $30,000 less than we requested, because you gave us $60,000. And they're saying to re-tube both, it's only 30. Or to replace them with propane boilers at $180,000. And our recommendation was to re-tube them, because, long-term, hopefully, long-term, we're not in those buildings. But I guess that still has to be,
But
talked
you have
about.
contracted them, right? You have contracted those out?
The South Hill one, yes. And
South
we're-
Hill.
But not yet, okay.
And we're talking to
Oh,
Honeywell
okay,
about
okay,
this.
okay.
I think on the maintenance plan is more like looking for, like, once they're put in, then, you know, we got a plan to upkeep them going forward. I think more than a study or something done on what we already got or something. I think that's what we were looking at.
Well, that's what the Honeywell report clearly states what we should replace, what's fine.
I think that came out because of last time, as you said, like even
Right.
South Hill, the maintenance that should have been performed on the chillers was never done.
Right.
So that's why they were looking at, we want to see a maintenance plan in place because, you know, that's
And we have
replacing
contract with-
all the
right.
filters and things like that on a regular basis so that they're not overloading the system.
Right. And so with Train at South Hill, elementary school, we have a contract in place that will provide the maintenance every year on South Hill. For the others, where Honeywell did that study and recommendations, that would have to be bid out. We'd have to do those fixes, and then from there, as far as maintaining them, a maintenance agreement would have to be bid out.
So you're not gonna have your employees do the maintenance at all?
Anything they can do, yes, but anything that is, big yearly stuff that they cannot, would be contracted out. Same thing at South Hill, we replace all the filters at South Hill and all the general maintenance, but any of the big, stuff is contracted out.
Okay, Southfield Elementary, what's the timeline? You said that's under contract, that will be completed and long before it get cold?
Oh, yeah, it'll be before it gets, it should be completed probably next month.
Okay.
Just to be clear, so we know everybody's on the same page, this is the list that the committee from the Board of Supervisors.
Agreed upon, yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what the board agreed to
Yeah.
fund.
We took it back to our board also, and then our board agreed to
Okay.
fund these items.
I know at the meeting that we had in May, we talked about the private list, and some of this stuff was real important to go ahead and do, and I think we tried to have a meeting, couldn't work out due to vacations, things like couldn't get a meeting beforehand to work on it, so I rang, again, you know, I was a little disappointed with the bleacher thing that, you know, I thought we had on that list that it would be replaced, not repaired. And so, I still didn't quite understand why we spent the money to have somebody come in there and condemn them at that time. But we wanted to get, when we left that meeting the 22nd, we wanted to get right on this stuff and anything that needed to be done and get the money in place and get it done. So we really tried to get things going before we went back into school. But I thought we left it, on the project list, it was to be replaced, the bleachers. Was that, or was it repaired or
It was
replaced?
repaired or replaced, but it was not funded. Like, the walkways aren't on here to be funded. The
Right,
only
the
thing
committee didn't
we-
agree to that.
Right, the only thing we knew that you agreed to do, we're just seeing this list.
And that's what you asked for.
Well, we
At that time,
presented
you
at
had-
the meeting and you didn't have staff there.
Was the chiller and the things, right? And we didn't do it to condemn them. Employees questioned the safety of them, and as soon as they questioned the safety of them, I'm obligated to protect our
Right, and I wish
students
we'd have done
staff.
it back when we left in May, when we were there.
Right.
We were actually there in the bleachers in May.
Well, at least now.
And we
know.
wouldn't have got into, we had to shut down the volleyball and stuff like that. We'd have just maybe got together. Well, I think we could have got together and communicated, we could have got something done real quick on that. If it was, you know, because I think the bleachers probably in bad shape. Fall
But now we
before
know
this.
exactly how bad and what we need to replace it and everything else, so.
Okay, let's move on to another item, one other day, I'm already, contract for the bleachers. So let's move on to another item. Any other item we need to take a look at? Any questions about? Any other item on our list?
Not at this time, I think we'll look over it and,
Okay, next. Before our next board meeting. Okay. All right, thank you. And the next one on our agenda will be the, discussion of test scores.
we just pass these around. This is a presentation that Dr. Hackney did for us at our school board meeting. I'm gonna give you the information that we have currently, and, two things. You can go to the YouTube. This will take a long time for us to sit here and go over all of them. So, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can look at that, look at our presentation, you can see it. The other thing that I'd like to offer is that she come to your next board meeting and be on your agenda to make a presentation to the board with the test scores explaining, because it's more than just looking at the scores. It's looking at the individual schools, it's looking through the teachers, it's looking, there's a lot of data in here that she needs to explain to you for it to make sense. What I do want you to know is that, Mecklenburg County is in a good position. Our scores were up. We had some that were down. They're not where we'd like for them to be by any means, but none of the other schools in the state, or at least 600 more of them in the state, are not accredited at this time. However, Mecklenburg's in a good position because we had already started project-based learning, critical thinking, problem solving, prior to these SOLs being taken. The other schools in the state are now scrambling to try to bring those things in. So I feel like our scores will be coming up. And if you'd like for more information for this, again, you can go to the YouTube station, or you can have Dr. Hackney, excuse me, it's that time of the year, have Dr. Hackney come to your board and make the presentation.
Any member, either board have any questions about test scores? I had one saying, a call in from my board, we want to know, at the last, how many schools in Mecklenburg County was accredited at the last accreditation, evaluation? How many schools?
One school, Bluestone High School.
This year?
Yes.
But you give it for that,
We had Parkview High School and Chase City.
Chase City Elementary?
Yes.
Okay. This one got everything. And this time it was.
Bluestone High School.
Okay, anything else for test score? Well, I think they have given us some kind of booklet here. We need to go to, YouTube channel, if we have other questions, we will get
Yeah,
back to
you
you.
can have Dr. Hackney come and be on your agenda and make the same presentation. It makes a lot more sense when you see the presentation.
So we have any questions, yes, thank you. Okay, full facility plan.
Okay.
That you have, the walls, the mechanical, and previous reports from the school board.
Okay.
And we did get the book.
Right, you got the book that's in front of you. For those of you that, don't have the copies, I will read parts of this for you. I may have to defer and have, Ms. Smiley read the rest of it, if I can't start coughing. And then also, I've got some things that I want to share with you as well. This report is designed to give a clear picture of the Mecklenburg County Public Schools facility plan for the future. There's been much discussion over the last 20 years since the first report presented on Mecklenburg County Public School Task Force on School Facilities, which was conducted by 86 faculty members and citizens. That task force came to the conclusion in 1994 that a new consolidated high school was needed. The task force also recommended on page 20 and 39 of the report to employ a professional architectural firm with experience in the design and evaluation of elementary, middle, and secondary facilities, as well as experience in how curriculum impacts building needs. With the direction from this consultant to develop a long-term facility plan for the school division. Since that time, one new school, Southfield Elementary, was built in 2005. It says 2006 here, but I think it was 5, wasn't it?
It's 2000.
Was it 5? Yeah. That's what I thought. At the time, the community was told that other schools from the other side of the county would be addressed. There has been no action on that until recently, when the administration took it into their own hands to use excess funds in 2011 to build 3 gyms at Clarksville, Chase City, and La Crosse elementary schools. The school board then presented a plan to replace all trailers at the same 3 elementary schools to provide a better learning environment for elementary students across the county, and not just at Southfield Elementary School. And I can tell you that when I ran for election 2 times ago, that was one of the things that I heard over and over, was that we needed equity in all of our schools. In August 2010, a study was completed by RRMM Architects to assist the board in narrowing the development options by reviewing the programmatic, fiscal, and cost impact of various design schemes. The VGO study that was conducted in July 2009 provided the framework for the evaluation. After carefully considering all options, the school board came to the same conclusion that the Citizens Committee came to back in 1994. Therefore, the board voted in 2010 to build a consolidated middle and high school on the same site. The presentation from the architects clearly demonstrates the cost effectiveness of such a plan. This has remained our plan since that vote. And actually, this is the plan that this school board and the 2 previous school boards were working off of. This document will discuss the studies that have been conducted since 1994 and provide a clear picture on next steps for future construction. The plan is also included on how to maintain the existing building and provide our students and faculty with a comfortable environment in which to learn and work.
Excuse me, Sam, in 2010, was that the first time the school board brought it to the Board of Supervisors to build a consolidated high school?
I'm not aware, I know.
Do you know of any time it was brought up before 2010?
I know it had been brought to the Board of Supervisors in previous years. You've never been, since 1994, nobody.
I've been here since 1989, no, they never requested us with a consolidated high school. Y'all voted on it the first time.
Okay.
I've been here since '89, Sandra, I'm probably the only one who's been here since.
Well, I mean, I've been hearing this
Yeah,
since
I understand, but
nineteen
no one,
ninety-four,
it was
so.
never presented to the school board, to the best of my knowledge, never voted on it, requested the board of supervisors.
Okay,
I mean, you know, we kinda get hit pretty hard a lot of times that we're not doing anything, but I think,
It's been
and I wasn't on
discussed.
the board, but it was never
Well,
brought
and
to
I
the
wasn't on
board.
the board when this was there either,
Yeah.
but I knew in 2010, I guess that was the first, but I'm sure you were made aware of the studies. Mr. Jennings was actually on the committee at the time.
He wasn't a board
I
member back
wasn't on the
then.
board
Mr. Gordon was also on the committee, he wasn't on the board back then. The group that did it, it was discussed, but the school board never came once until y'all voted on it to ask for a consolidated high school.
Okay, so well, this is
Never.
the.
I mean, I've been here for 25 years.
Okay, well, this is the plan that the school boards have been working off of, so, I'm just letting you know, because there's been discussion and people said, we've changed our plan, and this is the plan that we've been working off of since we've been there, and I'm gonna show you some of the different things that we've done. Some of the things we've implemented, some of the things that other school boards have already implemented, we won't touch on. But anyway, moving forward, they've been talking about this for 20 years, obviously, since 1994, that this needs to be done. The cost analysis presented to the school board in August of 2010 did not consider factors such as the program of study, staffing efficiency, transportation impacts, long-term energy savings, benefits of natural light, or the availability of land. The numbers used to determine costs were based on the programs and amount of teachers in 2010. All these factors can be addressed once an architectural firm has been hired to meet with the community and determine the size and program space of a new facility. The analysis stated that a new combined high school in the Boyden area would cost approximately $62 to $78 million. 2 new high schools would cost $75 to $94 million. Therefore, it would cost approximately $13 to $16 million more to have 2 separate high schools. The The report also indicates that a new combined high school and middle school would cost approximately $104 to $131 million. The report also examined the cost of 2 renovated middle schools at the current Parkview and Bluestone High School site. Some demolition and new construction will be needed in the renovation. The analysis stated that the renovation additions would cost approximately $43 to $55 million, while 2 new middle schools would cost $52 to $67 million. Again, these figures were in 2010. Another approach, rather than to combine high schools and middle schools, would be to combine a high school and then renovate the existing high schools into middle schools. The cost comparison on this is $104 to $131 million for combined high school, middle school versus a combined high school at 62 to 78 and 2 middle school renovations at 43 to 55, which would total to a project cost of $105 to $133 million. Therefore, the cost of the combined middle and high school will be similar to the cost of combined high and 2 renovated middle schools at the existing high school sites. There's been discussion that the middle schools should stay separate. And I think that's something that we need guidance from you all as to what are you gonna find? Is it gonna be the 2 high schools? Is it gonna be the 1 high school, the 2 middle school combination? A transportation study and operational cost analysis must be done to determine potential costs and efficiencies. This cannot be completed without the assistance of an architectural firm with the professionals to handle such an analysis. In the report given in 2012 to both the school board and the board of supervisors, administration demonstrated that if $2 million is designated to the school facility fund each year, with 30% down before starting any project, after completing the middle and high schools, the earliest an elementary school could be addressed would be the year 2040. Given this fact and the poor conditions of the used trailers that many of our elementary students were housed in for many years already, the administration put together a plan to build additions to Clarksville, Chase City, and La Crosse. This plan not only eliminated our children having to be in trailers, but somewhat alleviated the problems created when South Hill Elementary was built and our other elementary schools did not have access to the same learning environment. The current facility plan for the elementary schools is to maintain South Hill Elementary with the proper maintenance of equipment for efficient use for many years to come. The plan for the other 3 elementary schools is to address the infrastructure, heating, cooling, and environmental needs for the staff, students and staff. These needs were outlined in the plan given to the Board of Supervisors Education Committee earlier this year. The needs include new HVAC, replacement of windows, kitchen upgrades, and the things that you all prioritize. We do not want to slow the progress on the middle and high school project down. Therefore, we are investigating the possibility of meeting the elementary needs through an energy performance contract. An energy performance contract is a procurement tool that allows you to leverage the savings you get from making building improvements in order to pay for the improvements. This program allows for guaranteed savings. Energy performance contracts are enabled by the Commonwealth of Virginia. The capital needs for the upgrades, and this comes also from the Honeywell report. While we address the needs for new facilities, we must continue to maintain our current facilities and ensure that our students and staff have a positive work environment and has heating and cooling to make it comfortable. And so I think this is the list that you all have identified. And it talks about, we have already been appropriated the money to replace these boilers, and we will retube them at a cost of $30,000, which is $30,000 less than what initially requested. If you take out item 1.3 and item 1.4, then the total of all repairs and replacements is $446,000. If you subtract the extra $30,000 that's already appropriated, we would need approximately $416,000. All these are repairs are to ensure that our students and staff have a comfortable air environment in which to learn and work. These repairs or replacements are due to the age of the equipment. The maintenance staff has been trying to piece things together for years to save money. They thought they were doing the right thing by not spending money in facilities that should be replaced or completely renovated. They have heard for 20 years about a consolidated high school and were under the assumption that it would occur in a reasonable time frame. We are requesting these repairs and replacements because students and staff should not have to work in this type of environment. These are the minimum repairs that were needed. And then we have the how to proceed, and I think we've outlined that. Our plan is outlined in the table below. The needs in the plan are clear. Our top priority is consolidated high school and middle school complex, which that's never changed. We will upgrade Clarksville, Chase City, and La Crosse Elementary through an energy performance contract. We need immediate action on the mechanical issues in the current middle and high schools to ensure a positive learning environment for all students and staff. In order to move forward with this plan, we request that the Board of Supervisors fund the cost of hiring an architect that will meet with the community to determine the needs and wants for the new high school and middle school complex. Once this work is complete, the architect will be able to give both boards a full report on costs associated with construction and operations of a new facility that meets the community's needs. We cannot have a realistic conversation of how to fund this project without doing the preliminary work required with professional architects that can guide the discussion and answer the key questions that we cannot. We are serious about finding a solution to our facility needs 20 years after the initial study, when we need to spend $200,000 and get the work done. Some individuals have stated that we can hold these public meetings without an architect. We can do that, but we cannot figure out the square footage required, the cost analysis, the construction, the operations, without a professional architect that has experience in building school facilities. We also request $416,000 to fund the needs of the current facilities listed in the Honeywell report. It is our sincere hope that we can move forward and work collaboratively to meet the needs of our students. And then you can look over at the Honeywell report. Did you have a chance to read that?
All of those are delivered Friday afternoon.
Right. I did read, look through it, and I did read most of it.
And as Dr. Thornton said, they made recommendations for some things that, that we didn't need, and then they made 2 recommendations of you could replace or you could do these. So, we wanted you to have that information. But, also, as evidence that we have continued to follow the plan that we had, and that we have demonstrated or implementing issues that were raised by the task force in 1994. I want to direct you to the task force tab to page 3. And if you look at that, the goals for education are the elementary schools will provide the opportunity for full development of his or her. For all elementary students will be provided the opportunity for the full development of his or her intellectual potential. All elementary students will develop a system of ethics and values that reflect individual and shared responsibilities for themselves and to the community in an increasingly global society. All elementary students will develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills to enhance the transition to these next levels of academic pursuit. I know that as we've been talking about PBL and critical thinking and things like that, people have insinuated that this was something that was just pulled out of the air. Dr. Thornton brought this program here or whatever. In 1994, they were talking about these were the things that needed to be done, and these are things that we have implemented with the 5 Habits of Part and Mind, and also through the professional development that we've done with our staff for the critical thinking and problem solving. So, and this is something that we have been doing and we're working on. You turn to page 5. On the curriculum needs, let's see, you will see that parents express concerns about the need for core values, life preparatory skills for both individuals and groups. Again, that goes back to what we're implementing at this time. The elementary teacher concerns on page 5 at the bottom were proficiency in the skills, need for improved physical education program in the elementary schools. I think that has been addressed, and then we also took that further with adding in the gyms. The concern for teacher planning time in the elementary schools. This year, we actually implemented that through the scheduling changes. The need for additional classrooms, that was implemented with our, the additions that we have, but we still need, this is for the elementary level, I'm sorry, I should have said that to begin with. And class size student ratio, we are working on that, but the budgets, I think some of that and space has caused us to have to keep them at a level. And then I want you to note that even in 1994, teacher salary was one of the major concerns as well. For the middle school education, on page 6, I'm sorry, on page 6, we also have one of the recommended was to develop a plan through funds that will allow all elementary school teachers a planning period each day. Again, that's something that we did implement this year. So as you can see, we're working off of this plan. On page 8, at the bottom, the committee discussed the need for a common curriculum design and instructional delivery for the middle school curriculum. If you notice, this report, was submitted, and ironically by Ed Taylor, it was submitted as the chairman of this committee, but these were just some of the recommendations, because they said they didn't have the full, they had a hard time getting all the members together. But, one thing was that the committee discussed the different designs and for the curriculum, and again, I think that's one of the things that we're implementing with PBL, critical thinking, four-test math, and things like that. On page 9, you'll find the challenges for implementing the curriculum changes that were given, with the need for major improvements and renovations to our inferior school buildings at Bluestone and Parkview Middle, which I think we all can agree that that's something that definitely needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And on page 10, they further state that the schools are truly embarrassing. Staff and administration should not have to work in facilities of this nature. And the committee sincerely hopes that our children are not severely injured or affected by rapidly deteriorating buildings, which could cause severe physical harm, not to mention catastrophic curriculum hardship in the event we had a major roofing failure, so on and so forth. Again, this was in 1994. A few of these things have been addressed. However, some of those things are still the way they were in 1994, and that is the infrastructure, some of the infrastructure that we have. The curriculum committee then suggested that repairs be made and that they look very seriously at some means of school consolidation after a period of curriculum analysis is done. So on the high school level, on page 11, the committee was directed to make recommendations for 21st century learning, which is what we're asking for, and saying that we need the spaces for 21st century learning. If you will note, in the second paragraph, about dual enrollment classes are available to students who are seniors. There was a directive from the board when I was first elected, which was last term, for Dr. Thornton to increase and open up the dual enrollment opportunity to all students, and starting that in the 9th grade. This was the year that those students graduated, and we had 61 students who graduated with an associate's degree and career certifications. All contrary to some information out there, a former student contacted all of our board to report that all 60 of her credits transferred to UVA, and that the friends of hers in the same class had all of their credits transferred as well to the colleges that they attended. She was grateful and appreciative, thanking the school board and the superintendent for the opportunity to be able to participate in dual enrollment. So 18% of the graduating class had the certification. Also, on page 12, it shows that even in 1994, there was a need to improve the math and science curriculum, and of course, we're still working on that. There was another concern in here of the dropout rate, which is what we now refer to as the on-time graduation rate. The board also gave a directive to Dr. Thornton to increase the number of, to increase the on-time graduation rate, and it has increased from 79% to 88%, while the state average is around 89%. So another directive that we gave Dr. Thornton was to increase the number of advanced studies diplomas, and that has increased to 49%. So the goals that were set by the school board, and those were goals from the last school board as well as this one, and we're working off this plan, heading and are moving up. And then if you look at we'll get to the facilities report. And with the elementary schools, we have started addressing those with things that we've done, but we want to continue to do, to look at that. And to continue with the work that we've done with the elementary schools by renovating them and working towards that. And again, we're going to look at doing that through the, went out of my head. performance contract. For the high school facilities recommendations out of this, if you look at page 20, they had, again, to hire the architectural firm that's on there. But they wanted to develop a short and long-term plan addressing the needs, which we continually do by putting Band-Aids on the issues that arise. We have employed the contract, we'd like to employ architectural and engineering firm that was recommended them. They said they wanted to advertise, receive bids for the grounds and maintenance and grass cutting in 1994. We just did that this year, and that's working out very well. Also, to consider the night and evening maintenance staff working without disruption by the students or by the staff, and we have done that when we implemented hiring service solutions. Also note in big letters at the bottom of that page that we need to begin these recommendations as soon as possible, immediately today. The longer the wait, the more it will cost. So if we're going to it goes back to the fact that in order to get hard numbers and to know exactly what we're looking at for the long term, we really need to hire this architectural firm. And all these things go back to that. If you note,
I have a question, how large is that night maintenance group a year? How large a group is that, number of people that do the night maintenance work without being disrupted? You said they
we
did
have
hire.
some that are there during the day, and then we have the night maintenance.
I'm not sure how many work at night, but some work during the day and some work at night.
But this crew is adequate to
Well,
carry the maintenance load.
According to Service Solutions, is adequate, and right now our buildings are much better condition, starting school year.
Under the Community Use Committee, there were 3 recommendations there on page 39, and one of which we have done, we hired a CPA, which was the first recommendation. We have, let's see, the others to immediately employ a professional architectural engineering firm, which again, we're asking to do. And the third is to establish a program which will on an ongoing basis evaluate all teachers and administrators. And this was done when Dr. Thorne was here also. The state required us to do that, so we have that yearly ongoing evaluation. So as you can see, we have a plan, and we've been working from this plan. The facility study, page. Now if you switch over to the facility study, which I guess is, let me see. Oh, okay. Again, in the continuation of following the recommendations in the plan from 1994, and the school board directed Superintendent Helen Hill to engage the Department of Education in the study. And that is under facilities survey. Okay. On page 9 and 10. The recommendations were to build, and this came from the Department of Education. I was on the board at the time when this came, when we had this study done. And I thought Ms. Hill had brought it to your board, but apparently she did not. So again, build a new centrally located high school, renovate current high schools for middle schools and abandon both middle school facilities, renovate elementary schools. And that's what their recommendations were. And there were some other recommendations here to also knock Parkview down, construct a new elementary school on the site, and what we did from that plan is that's when we, instead of knocking all that down because we weren't moving forward with the new high school, all that hinged on that, is when we started the renovation plan and the additions for the elementary. So while we have been following the same plan, we just may have done it in a little bit of a different order. On page 11 at the bottom, it was observed that the temporary mobile classrooms were in poor condition, that at most sites, multiple temporary classrooms had been used for a long time. They were not made to be used forever. I did check into that. All of the mobile units were purchased in the late 70s. There were some purchased in 1998 for the elementary schools, and those were the newest ones that were purchased. And then we purchased 5 used units about 6 years ago when I first got on the board, from Spotsylvania, and those were sent to some of the elementary schools to take care of some of the space problem that we had. And since then, we have alleviated that at the elementary schools. However, on page 12, we have not at the middle schools. The fact that students have to go outside to attend classes in temporary units poses a health and safety risk to students and teachers. So while we have alleviated it by the plan with the elementaries, we have not with the middle schools. Again, on page 13, it talks about the additions to Chase City and Clarksville. And we have addressed a lot of these with the upgrades, and we'll continue to address those. At the bottom of the page, after surveying, all of this information about the middle and existing schools, that the school board looked at it and voted to construct the middle and high schools on the same property. On page 14, the recommendation that's outlined in this report would provide the county with a new centrally located high school, 2 newly renovated middle schools, 2 renovated elementary schools, and one new elementary school. As you can see from the statement, we've been working off the plan. However, we now have 4 additions and need to continue to work at the elementaries. And one of the things that we need to decide is what are we going to do with the middle and high school. And that's something that we really need to work on. Obviously, this has been going on for 20 years, whether we were on the board or not, we are on the board now. And so we need to start working on this. I hope that we can come together and to figure out what it is that we need to do and how we can do it. The bottom line is that we're asking you today to take back to your board. And our board voted unanimously, and then also had a unanimous consensus at, what was the last meeting, August meeting. It was a unanimous consensus to ask you all to fund the $200,000 for the architect so that we can start moving forward. And I think all the other information is in here. If it hadn't been brought to the board before, it's brought here now. And I have parents that are asking me all the time, what are we gonna do with the facilities? When are we gonna get new schools? They've been hearing this for 20 years. Again, whether it's been brought to the board or not, it's out there, and now it's time for us to deal with it. And there are some constituents who do not want new schools, but there are some that do, and I feel like we need to hire this firm to come in and look at all of the possibilities so that they can make a recommendation back to both boards, and we can make an informed decision on what it is that we need to do to move this county forward.
We would like to thank Ms. Tanner for the presentation on the facilities. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Mr. Carter, just out of curiosity, I know you mentioned you didn't recall any requests for consolidated school by previous school boards, but do you recall any requests just for renovation of existing schools?
No.
So no
No, I've been here for 25 years now.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to.
I've only missed one board meeting, and that was in 1991, so I'm pretty sure it was before that, okay?
Good for you.
That's fine, the rest of the committee.
But it was never brought forward.
Okay.
The committee reports sometimes were sent, but there was never a request by the school board ever to discuss it.
Well, and I think that's what this committee was put together for, is for us to figure out what it is we're gonna do with the facilities and moving forward.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Based on
Go ahead.
what we got. On items 5, 6, 7, and 8, which your committee agreed upon, the bar units, windows, all those items. Where's that money coming from?
It come out of the school facilities fund.
School facility fund?
All money of this will come out of school facility fund, that's the only place we have any money to put into it.
Okay.
And that's what the board voted on, that all of it would come out of the school's facility fund.
Okay. And so I guess my next question would be item 1. If the committee agrees to proceed with 30% down for the project to begin. So if you approve all of these funds, and that comes from the school facility fund and not the capital general fund that you have in the county, then we're looking at, without even spending this money, I calculated with the 30% down on the 62 million guess that we've got, because that's the best guess, we got 62 to 78 million. In that time frame, we're looking at 8 to 11 years before doing anything. And if that's the case, I think it just changes some of the discussion, because then, like the Honeywell report, some of the things we need to do now, both gyms are in bad shape, the HVAC units, they're over 30 years old, and you can read in the report what they say about the gyms. And actually, we had to have a emergency generator on hand last year at Parkview High School's graduation, because it broke down basically 2 weeks before graduation. And so I think Ms. Tanner has asked for, and you guys did ask for that report of our mechanical system, and what we're finding is approximately $416,000 of needed repairs that need to happen, like now.
I think the committee is, the board has approved that, they just want the.
Well, this is
report.
new. I mean, the 416 is new. It wasn't on our priority list. Because you guys asked for a full mechanical.
Right. So then that's gonna be additional on top of what already has been approved and y'all discussed.
So what you're saying is this is gonna put it off 8 to 11 years, so that.
Well, when you say on $67 million, is that a consolidated high school, is that a consolidated high school, middle school?
In the report we had in 2010, that was just a consolidated high school.
But you're asking for
78.
consolidated high school, middle school?
We're asking this committee to allow us to hire an architect to find out what it is to find out hard numbers, and also to find out what it is that the community wants. Do they want 2 high schools? Would they support funding 2 high schools? Do they want 1 high school? Do they want high school, middle school? We need to find those things out.
So we
And
need
we
to
need
get
to
a-
have the architect to do that, so that,
I'm sorry, can I?
Can I finish?
Yeah. I have an answer to this question.
so that the architect can, now you made me lose my train of
I'm
thought.
sorry.
We're asking so that we can find out what the public wants, what they will support, and so that these 2 boards can look at those numbers and see what it is that we can get and we can move forward. Because I would hate to think that the students in this county had to go to these schools again, for another 11 years before we get a new high school or a new whatever. Because it hinges on the consolidated high school first, before we can do anything to the middle schools, and they're in horrible shape. So parents are not happy. Parents want something to be done. They don't want Band-Aids. They want to see new schools. So,
I'm sorry for that. But on that last page of the how to proceed, it did say consolidated high school, middle school, projected cost 104 to 131. So to answer your question, if we do what we requested all in one lump, middle and high school at one time, we're looking for 15 to 20 years before that can happen. Right.
I hope, I want to run a couple things, I looked at this too, and I hope maybe Ms. Lundy won't buzz it at 5 o'clock there, because we ain't really had enough, I don't think we can have enough time, but, I looked back at that study, and I looked at 1994 versus today. What, I think the enrollment was 5,000 in 1994. It's what, I think on that page. One of the-
Yes.
Today is what?
Today it's 46.
So we don't have as many kids we had in 94.
well, you have to remember, we've had people's clothes and people.
Right, well, I mean, that's what-
I mean,
that's-
we've lost because of industries.
Oh, yeah,
moving out
and
things
that's
like
that's
so.
probably where I'm trying to get at. I have to write down stuff because I'm at the age, so I forget stuff, so I may have to read a little bit.
That's why I had to read all that to you.
And you're not going to broke your train of thought.
See, that's what happens about having to read.
I know the feeling. I look back and heard of this thing and I read it, and I'm not trying to be criticizing what we're trying to do, because I think we need to fix some things, do some things. I don't want us to sit still, because I think the Band-Aid approach that we took for 20 years, assuming something was a terrible thing, that's not just this administration. In the past, we assumed something and we Band-Aided when it probably needed stitches. It shouldn't have never got to this. But we got it, and we're gonna try to deal with it, I hope. But I look back in 1994, our school budget at that time was $23 million, is what was in this report. Today it's double, $47 million. And, I think back in 94, a whole lot of things have changed since 94. And over those 20 years, probably real estate in the county and stuff, land base probably doubled. Until the last 4 or 5 years, it's probably went down. We've kind of got stagnant when real estate got lower this past year. So we're dealing with that going into an economy. The state and federal, they used to be pretty little giving us money. I think they cut it, $5 million over the last, is that somewhere close, over the last 3 years?
Yeah.
I mean, we all are feeling that too. I don't think that's gonna get no better. I think, what I see and what I read, they're passing that on down to the locality. The state don't want to, and not giving no more money because they don't feel like the people probably need to be taxed in more states, so just give it to the locality, y'all handle it. How much we can, so, then we think about where is this money gonna come from? If it's $5 million a year or $7 million or whatever it is to do that, I see that. I still think that probably over the next 10 or 15 years, our budget's gonna have to go up regardless of a new school or not. It's gonna go up, and I wonder where that money's coming from too. I think I heard Dr. Thorne say that we need to fix the teachers' pay. Over the next 5 years, we need to increase it $3 million. When we get to that 5 years, it'll be $3 million every year. But when we're in 5 years, we just did $900,000 to get it in shape 2 years ago, and it's out of whack again in just 2 years. So it's gonna be out of whack again after 5 years, I would imagine, the teacher pay. So, $3 million, we tax the people 3 cents to get to 900. So you're talking about over 5 years, an increase just to get the teachers paid, which I ain't got no problem with, maybe 10 cents. In 94, up yonder in Clarksville, that's probably struggling a little bit. They had a Burlington and a Russell Stover in 1994. Things were really blooming in Clarksville. Over here at Chase City, we had a John Beal. Then at Sherwood Food, I don't know what it was called, Sherwood Food then or not, I'm not sure. We had that business up there. South Hill, BGF, Homecraft, probably another 6 or 7. They ain't none of them there no more. They generated a lot of money. So things were pretty good in 94. As a matter of fact, they were really good in 94. So my biggest concern is, if we do this, we figure out where it's the cost, so we can save a little here and save a little there. Where in the world is all this money gonna come from? Because you're talking about a lot of $1 million, a lot of millions.
Well, until we know exactly, I'm with you.
And on the record, I'm probably one of those who said that we need to have public meetings to find what, I won't, maybe got misunderstood, something that not having public meetings to see how much square footage we need or whatever. I think we need to have a public meeting with Roots and find out if that's if they still want to do what they wanted to say in 94.
And we'll find that out with the architect.
Do we need to have an architect to do that? So can we save that
Because we
$200,000
need to
and
go ahead and-
just have some open house talk, and maybe the board of supervisors and the school board, and we just sit in somewhere and we listen to these people that are elected us to be in office? Because
Well, we're
the
gonna-
ones I'm listening to, I don't have nobody coming to me and tapping me on the shoulder and said they want a new high school.
Well, I hear it every day.
I don't.
Every day.
Manager for that.
Yeah.
I've built schools at a previous system as well, and I do understand where you're coming from, but if you look back at the history, and I went through the same process. 1994, 86 people were involved, and nothing happened. There's been other community groups formed and citizens that have worked on this since then. And they've had meetings and they've discussed this, and the board voted one way, and some of those people said it really wasn't that way. And again, so I've talked to people since I've been here, and they didn't want to serve on another committee that was going nowhere. The architect brings credibility and discussion to you, the board, our board, the citizens, and has that expertise to really have a conversation. And because one of the things we brought up is colleges renovate things. Our buildings, yes, there's 416,000, and some of the other things we asked for the elementary school. One thing it doesn't touch in any of these buildings is the infrastructure, under the ground. All the sewer lines and drain lines and all the electrical lines. And when they gut these big facilities, because I've been a part of it along with university, they gut the entire building and the entire ground and floor. And all that's left is the shell of that building for historic purposes. And then the instructional spaces are totally redesigned with them. And all your infrastructure is brought up to scale. So I just want to say, as we continue this process, I don't want a Band-Aid approach. And I'm with you, let's find out, do we renovate what we have? But understand what renovation means, an architect can explain that to me. And some of those numbers are in there. It may be $15 to $20 million less in here. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, I don't want to be misquoted by the papers, but it may be less to renovate. And it says it's less to renovate, but then it's more of a decision from the community, do you want to renovate your old buildings? And it's really
How far do you want to
renovate
go?
slash addition, right. So I do think having these meetings is vital, but I do think having an architect on that table that you're gonna pay for anyways. You're gonna have, any architect, once you design, once you say you're gonna move forward, is going to do all these same meetings to design that building. So you're not throwing away money. You're just taking step one in a small sum, because architecture fees are like 5-6% of the whole construction project. So they're huge.
Okay, Dr. Thornton, so your board is saying, you're speaking for right now, that they want an architectural firm to come in to figure out for the population of students that we have, a middle school, high school complex, or just a high school. Am I hearing you say that?
Yes. But, well,
One or the other?
Well, what I'm
You
saying
just
there.
No, I'm saying that's what.
That's what the board has voted on, middle high school, but just like
No, no,
Mr.
just hear me out there.
Okay.
You keep going back and forth. You want the architectural firm to figure out which is best for Mecklenburg County and the population of students. They-
And what the community
Yes, ma'am.
wants,
Yes.
yes ma'am, whether it's one or whether
Yeah,
it's the
one
other.
versus the other one.
Because people will keep asking.
You're not just talking about the one high school now. We're not talking about just the high school, middle school complex, which one is best, right? That's what we're saying?
They'll tell us.
That's what you want the $200,000 to find out.
Plus
For
also.
the board to give you, give your board, architectural firm to look into that. Am I correct?
And what will be in those buildings?
Okay. You repeat that again so they can get to the minute. So I know what to take back to my board. I mean, you know, so won't be no misunderstanding, okay?
Okay.
You repeat it so the secretary can copy it right there.
Do you want to try to? We want to hire an architect, to evaluate the consolidated high school, middle school, or consolidated high school, and all that the community would like to see in those buildings, and be able to give us an analysis. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and you want.
Well, wait a minute.
They'd like them to give us the $200,000 to
Right,
hire.
to
pay for it.
pay.
But would it be possible that they could come over, I mean, we pretty much just said we wanted a new school. By that, we're not talking about renovation at all.
Well, and I don't want to muddy the waters,
Right.
because I'm gonna say this, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking as the superintendent of private system now, okay? How's that? Because the board voted on consolidation. But I do believe, Mr. Franklin, just like you've stated before, when you start having these meetings, there are gonna be segments of the population that are gonna bring up a variety of things. They're gonna bring up whether it should be renovated or new. They're gonna bring up whether you should have a consolidated high school. Whether we should have still 2 high schools. I've had people who come up to me and ask me, shouldn't we have a consolidated middle and high on both ends? Wouldn't that still be a cost savings in operations? But, and I answer those questions but I do think if you go out to the people with an architect, and the people start asking those questions, then the architect will be able to give us that analysis and give us the answers to those questions. And then truly, you've heard from the whole community, and you've costed it out, so now you as elected officials, the board, the school board and board of supervisors, will have numbers in front of you to make decisions.
And
So the
that's
people
what-
will have a say in this.
Yes, this is what I have asked for from day one. I voted against the consolidated vote on high school. The reason I voted for it was not because I didn't feel like we needed new facilities, updated facilities, or whatever. I voted against it because I've never had the information I need to make an informed decision. And this report will give me that information to be able to vote yes or no, or go forward, or what it is, what it's gonna cost.
I think the biggest thing in my area,
And-
the people out there wanna make sure they
And
get
will-
heard on this
Yes,
issue.
they will. They will have meetings at the different high schools, or in the facilities so that they will be able to be heard.
As a matter of fact, I sit on a committee, you can see that my name's in the book, for the elementary school. We had meetings up at the old board and school board office, and the community was involved in that. And they had people come in to explain to the community what costs and all this kind of stuff. So it's nothing new.
You realize, looking at that, what's really disappointing is, when that study was done in '94, the schools were 39 years old. Is that something pretty normal that we replace schools every 40 years?
I wouldn't say 40 years. No.
But that's where we at on this.
I would say, more between 40 and 50 years.
Okay, wait.
Normal.
Jim, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I waited patiently. I didn't want to interrupt anybody, so let's take a
I'm gonna be scolded later.
That's okay, I've done the same thing, so don't feel bad. I've done the same shit. Part of this study also, I know, one of my board members has contacted you. While this is gonna look at the cost of construction and the size of it, will it also look at operation cost? Will it also look at transportation cost? Those things, because right now we run 2 separate school bus routes, okay? If you run this, you could be running 4 different routes, okay? Well, you may still, depending upon that. So is it gonna look at those cost figures also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And operational, because you and I both know, when people say we'll save money because we'll have energy efficient buildings, that's not true, because the building footprint becomes so much bigger. You spend a lot more money on just operation.
Right, square footage will grow.
Oh, great,
Absolutely.
great. And because of that, the fact that it's energy efficient, you have some cost savings, let's say in administration, but you have a lot more other cost factors.
Okay, I'm gonna break that act one more time for this report. I'm granting 10 minutes to the board today, okay? 10 extra minutes. 10 after.
I just have a quick comment. Mr. Brinkley, you're correct in the companies, like you said, Russell Stover, Burlington, have been long gone. But, we have had some new companies and retail that have come to our county, which hopefully would offset some, of those losses. For example, American Buildings, Home Care Industries, American Heat Transfer, HP, Microsoft, Home Depot is a new retailer in the area. So we've also, got new companies that are in production, industrial production or retail. And I just want to point that out, and hopefully that will offset some of the lost revenue that we've lost the old timer companies.
But we have to be real careful how we spend that money that we
Right.
don't know they're gonna be there.
Right, I
If we
understand.
make plans ahead, The thing, I want my grandchildren all to get a good education, but I don't wanna be strapped with a debt that they can't, no way to get out of either. I want to make sure that's part of it, because that's pretty devastating too.
Sure, we need to be responsible fiscally. And Ms. Lundy, just one quick question. Did you have a date on these 8 items of when the committee approved it and when the board approved it?
August.
August, the board approved in August, on the date,
I think it was in August.
first Monday,
Yeah.
first Monday in August, the date is right now. We did it,
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's August 9th.
I can get it to you tomorrow.
Because we tried to have a meeting before the
But I
August
know it's
meeting.
in August,
Correct, Sam?
approved it, yeah.
Yeah, and then took vacation in the schedule with this.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, one question, on a different nature, to Dr. Thorne, school board, which set of numbers are more important, whether ranking according to funding by the DOE or ranking by local funding per student? Which one of those set of numbers, for example, Mcnamara 134 by DOE and, it ranked about local funding, it ranked number 5, so which set of numbers you look at?
In our division.
Yeah, and Division 8, which set of number be more important to you as you watch?
Of
And
how we're-
rank it?
of how we're funded?
Yes, yeah, for funding, when you look at, Region 8, and you look at the state, which set of number you look at the closer or is the most important? Per student or ranking by the state?
I don't know what's more important. We normally try to look at our region and things that are similar in demographics.
I worked up just this, which shows actually per pupil study
per
by
student.
locality. And by that, while we're next to the bottom in Region 8, DOEs is a percentage above the minimum, and per pupil funding, we're only 5th in the region. And what we actually give per student based upon their ADM in 2013.
Right. Well, I would say that's definitely gonna vary, because one is, the state one is required local effort. So
Right.
based on what the state says, that you can fund, we're 134th in that. And the other one is what you are actually funding. So we might be funding more than some of the other ones in the region, but their composite index might be lower, and what they can fund, which the state says they can fund, is actually lower. So that,
And based upon their ADM.
right, and based on the ADM. So
Because if
it's
you have a
hard to
very
say
small
what's,
ADM, then you don't have a lot to have to fund. Correct?
Well, that can drive costs up too, because you're in a small system, you still have to have all the functions.
I understand that, but still.
So,
Okay.
right, very
It's
good.
not getting a long discussion, but I just
Right.
wonder, were you familiar with those numbers and which one you looked at, but that can be answered later.
Well, the one we looked at is the state one, because
Yeah.
that is what
DOE.
what DOE says that a county can fund, and what you're able to fund, and what above that you're doing.
Okay, that concludes my question.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I think we have already discussed G. Okay. With our presentation. We have a man of what's that is doing. Okay, we have our board meeting again as always, September first Monday.
It'll be actually the, second Monday, the Tuesday after, because that's, a holiday. Columbus Day, you can't actually meet on state holiday.
I will take the information back to the board.
They take action.
For their considering approval, okay?
Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion for adjourn? Okay, next time. Oh, that's this week, please.
Do you wanna meet sooner than we did before, or do you wanna keep that to 3 months, which would be December?
Let's take a vote on this committee. Do you want to meet every 3 months continually?
How much
You want to meet
could get done between now and,
December?
Well, once
December, how much?
if you let us know about this, then we can move forward with the architect.
We don't need a meeting then, either way, right, until December.
But we'll send you a December date.
Okay, we'll have our next meeting in December with the board, school board.
Yeah.
Okay, now, entertain a motion for this one.
So moved.
Okay.
got a second.
Moving properly second that we will adjourn this meeting and meet in December with the board of school board. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have a great weekend. See you then.